There is a study technique that has been continuously tried and tested for over 100 years, and it allows you to remember things for much longer while requiring less time overall compared to cramming it all at once. If you manage to do this study method right, you will be able to study less and remember more. Keep in mind that I'm talking about remembering here. Remembering is the keyword. In this video, I will discuss what this technique is, how to use it, and what tools to use. The principle here is pretty simple. If you study something once and never look at it again, you will forget most of it pretty fast. If you study it, wait, come back to it, wait longer, and come back to it again, you remember it much better and for much longer. This is called spaced repetition or the spacing effect. This is what it looks like on a chart. The falling line represents your memory, how much you actually remember out of whatever you studied. As you can see on the screen, as time passes by, you forget most of it pretty fast. And if you notice something, you can see that most of the forgetting happens in the first few days. Compare that to spaced repetition, where you do multiple spaced out study sessions that are in turn smaller in length compared to cramming it all at once. In this chart, each time you do a repetition, the baseline of how much you remember increases a bit. Do it enough times and you remember most of the stuff for much longer. In 2013, a major review tested 10 of the most popular study techniques in the world, such as rereading your notes, highlighting, summarizing, making mnemonics, and out of those 10 techniques, only 2 were rated as highly valuable: testing yourself and spacing your reviews out. So the testing effect and the spacing effect. The cool thing about this finding is that you don't need to perform these two techniques separately. You can do them simultaneously, making them a lot more easier to follow. For example, spaced repetition doesn't help that much if all you are doing is rereading your notes. Compare that to doing spaced repetition while testing yourself, actively trying to recall the concept, closing the book, and then quizzing yourself based on your memory, forcing your brain to output the answers and explanations on its own. And while this may seem time consuming and not effective, this is one of the most effective techniques for actually understanding what you study. So the actual system is pretty simple. You turn your study material into questions, and when you do spaced repetitions, instead of rereading your notes, you solve those questions instead. So basically, you use your memory and that's it. So how far should your reviews be? How long should the gap between your repetitions be? And how should the gap between those repetitions increase as you go on? It actually depends on what you are trying to learn and for what task. For example, let's say you are cramming something for an exam next week. You can do multiple spaced out repetitions within a short period of time for that examinations and it would work fine. But let's say you are preparing for an exam next year, then you would need longer gaps between those repetitions in order to make your memory stronger. A very important rule of thumb here is that you should avoid waiting too long before your first review. So when you make your flashcards, you should do them for the first time within a day or two. Otherwise, you would have already forgotten most of the stuff. After that, you don't really have to worry about how much time to leave before doing your next review, because the research on this is pretty mixed. There is no conclusive answer. The interval you choose depends upon your understanding of the flashcard, and that is why the next step is very important. The solution to identifying the gaps between repetitions is to use a spaced repetition software like Anki, which is a free standard open source app. Open source means it's our app. Its current scheduler, FSRS, is trained on hundreds of millions of real study sessions and predicts specifically when you are about to forget a fact, a flashcard, and appropriately times your interval based on that. The setup is also pretty easy. For each concept or fact, make a flashcard with a question on the front and answer on the back. Review your due cards daily and the app handles the scheduling for you. You just have to show up and answer the questions. Here are some things that you should keep in mind while making a flashcard. First, you should have good notes. By good notes, I mean notes that are interconnected, like a Zettelkasten or a second brain, where each concept connects to another concept and it's like an interconnected web of notes. This is how your brain actually learns, and this is one of the best way to actually understand and remember stuff. So build good notes. You can search about learning like this on YouTube and you will find a lot of videos by experts. I have also made a video, but I am not an expert. Second, each flashcards should only have one concept or an idea. Don't smash multiple concepts into one flashcard. Keep them separate. Third, ask a real question. Don't just write a term to memorize. Like, ask a real question. Phrase it like a genuine question would be phrased. Fourth, write your own cards. Nowadays, AI can make beautiful flashcards, but they aren't your own. And I would personally recommend that you make your own flashcards, because I have tried and tested making both own flashcards and AI flashcards, and the AI flashcards really just tend to bulk up on you and you just quit doing this technique forever then. So keep that in mind. Fifth, after you have reviewed a flashcard, try to link it to other things that you know or you remember. This reinforces your memory and makes it a lot stronger. And that's it. This technique works the strongest for facts, definitions, or vocabulary. For complex problem solving, you still need to practice actually solving problems. Spaced out repetitions won't build that alone. It's like maths. For complex problems, knowing the knowledge doesn't help. Being able to apply that knowledge helps. So if you are trying to make flashcards for complex problems, that really won't help that much. Instead, practice more and reserve the flashcards for where they are actually needed. So now you know everything about this technique, so please implement it. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you want to know more about Zettelkasten or why is a second brain considered so goated, you can click on this video right here. Or if you want to try and test whether you actually understand something, you can click on this video right here. And have a nice day.